Hi, I'm Jessica Cephalou, and I did my childhood disease project on the topic of sunburn. So children often spend a pretty good part of their day playing outdoors in the sun, especially during the summertime. So it makes them more vulnerable to the ultraviolet rays that the sun is radiating onto the earth. Sunburn is a visible reaction of the skin's exposure to sunlight, and it can happen within just 15 minutes of being in the sun. So it's pretty important to keep your child protected. Some symptoms a child might get when they're burnt, most of the time it's usually reddening of the burned area on the skin, and it can lead to some pain for the child. It might also put them in a weakened state for a few days. However, more severe cases may lead to inflammation of the skin, possibly even blistering, chills, fever, peeling of the skin. So anytime that you or your child's skin is not protected by sunscreen or clothes and is getting too much sun, it could either burn or it could tan the skin. And the deciding factor on what will happen is the amount of melanin you have in your skin. So darker skinned children tend to have more melanin, so they're less likely to burn. Whereas lighter skinned children have less melanin, so they're more prone to getting sunburn. This is where certain kids need to be more careful because of the lack of melanin they have in their skin. Children who have fair skin, they have moles, or they have a lot of freckles are more likely to get sunburnt than others who don't. So sunburn doesn't get transmitted from child to child. It's not contagious, but it does get transmitted from the sun to the child. And let me just explain how this works. The sun sends a lot of energy towards us, and it's just all the time, every day, all day. And there are a few different kinds of energy the sun is sending down to us. There's the infrared light, the infrared radiation, which is the heat that we feel from the sun. There is visible light, which is what our eyes can see, and then there's the ultraviolet light. We can't see the ultraviolet light with our eyes, but it's there, and that's what's being transmitted to us, and that's what burns our skin and our children's skin. If too much ultraviolet light hits our skin over time, it's going to hurt our skin cells, and those cells are going to die, and our bodies are going to react, which is via sunburn on our skin. One important thing to remember when taking your kids for a day outdoors is to always take extra precaution. Ultraviolet light comes from the sun, but it can also bounce off other surfaces like water, snow, or sand, or like concrete, like when you're walking on a sidewalk. So it means even if you're like under an umbrella or you're hiding under a shady tree from the sun, you can still get burned because ultraviolet light also goes through clouds, and so even if it's like a cloudy day, you can still get burned. The incubation period for moderate sunburn lasts about 1 week and a couple more days for it to completely heal. This type of sunburn is characterized more by the pain and the redness as compared to the more severe sunburns that have blistering, which is going to take weeks to heal completely. If the child seems to be reacting negatively to their moderate sunburn, they may require an over-the-counter medication for the pain. For the communicable contagion, the length for this specific disease doesn't exist because it's not possible to infect another child with sunburn. Sunburn is not contagious, so the window for it to be spread is like it's metaphorically closed. It can only be spread when the sun hits your own skin for an extended period of time. Ways to control this disease is by protecting you and your child's skin by doing things that keep the ultraviolet waves from reaching you. Clothing and hats are a great way to keep away those waves, as well as sunblock, which contains chemicals that can reflect and or absorb the ultraviolet light, leaving your child's skin sunburn free. There's actually a chart used to help aid people in protecting their children from sunburn. It's called an ABC chart. I don't know if any of you have heard of it. The A stands for away, which is to stay away from the sun when the rays are most damaging to your skin, which is around 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., maybe even 4 p.m. The B stands for block, and it's to block the sun rays using an SPF of 30 or higher sunscreen. And you need to apply the lotion 20 to 30 minutes before going outside, and then reapply it often throughout the day. Sunscreens should not be used on infants under 6 months of age. For children younger than that, parents should probably try to avoid sun exposure altogether, or dress the child in lightweight clothing that covers most of their skin. And then the C stands for cover up. Cover up is using protective clothing such as a long sleeve shirt and a hat when in the sun. Use clothing that has like a tight weave to keep out as much sunlight as possible. And babies less than 6 months, it's important to keep them out of the direct sunlight at all times. And you can use sunglasses or hats with brims, because those are very important. If your child does get sunburn, and he's younger than 12 months old, it's important to call the doctor. Even if the sunburn appears to just be mild and just a little red, sunburn in a child under the age of 1 can be more serious than it appears, so it is important to call your doctor, explain the child's symptoms, and see what your doctor needs to say. Some do's and don'ts on how to care for your child when they get sunburned. Some things that you should do if your child is still a baby, like 12 months or under. Offer plenty of fluids, like breast milk or formula, and you can offer water or other liquids if your child's older than that. That helps the skin heal, and it replaces the fluids lost by being out in the sun for too long. You could also try a cool bath, and ways to make it more soothing for the exposed skin is you can add baking soda or some kind of oatmeal-based bath treatment, and you have to be sure to pat your child's skin dry. You don't rub the child's skin because that's just going to irritate the burns more. You could also use a cold compress on it or aloe vera gel. That's very popular for children. It relieves the pain on the skin. Some things to not do when your child gets burnt is don't put petroleum-based products on their skin like petroleum jelly, because it prevents the heat and sweat from escaping, and it can make the burn worse. Also for oils and butters, don't put those on the skin because it's going to make the burn worse. Don't use first aid sprays or ointments that contain benzocaine. Benzocaine can irritate the skin, and it can cause an allergic reaction for your child. Most importantly, don't pop any of the blisters on your child's skin. The blisters form to protect your child's underlying skin, and breaking them open will lead to an infection. If they do break, you must apply an antibiotic ointment and a non-stick wound dressing. And be sure not to trim off the dead skin of the blister. Some important facts I just want to go over are is important after applying the sunscreen, you should give it at least 20 to 30 minutes to dry before your child goes outside. And if they have been in the sun for a while or the water, just make sure your child has applied another layer just to be safe. The surfaces such as sand or water reflect up to 85% of the sun's damaging rays. So when at the beach, it is extra important to keep everyone protected. The minimum SPF that should be used is SPF 30, no lower. Clouds and pollution, like a cloudy day, it gives off a false sense of protection, so a child is still able to get burnt on a cloudy day. So overall, we all do need some sun exposure. It's our top source of vitamin D. It helps our bodies absorb calcium for stronger, healthier bodies. And bones, healthier bones, but it doesn't take much time in the sun for most people to get the vitamin D they need. So when out in the sun too long, unprotected exposure to the ultraviolet rays will cause skin damage. So it's just important to be safe and important to keep our children safe out there. So just take all the steps I said into consideration. Thank you.